Hey guys and girls, welcome back to the Betar Project. I'm very excited for this episode. My first female guest, which is really cool. She's a 5 times national championship in Taekwondo, 2 times gold medalist and various silver and bronze medalists, which is awesome achievement. So without further ado, let me introduce Kate Mcadam. Thank you for coming on and giving me your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm like stoked to be on your podcast, man. I've been listening for a while, so very, very proud and privileged to be on your show.
When did you first come across the podcast?
I'm pretty sure it was through Brad Drybrough, his interview. And then he's a Wollongong boy. I'm from Wollongong. So I came across his podcast, and then through you interviewing him, I was just like, oh, who's this Nick guy? I'm going to check him out. And then I went on a bit of a binge fest back to the start through all your potties, and just liked what you were all about and could really appreciate you trying to step outside your comfort zone. So
that's awesome. What's your favorite episode?
I really like the recent ones you did with, I think, was it Joel Walsh?
Yeah, Joel Walsh, yeah.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I really took a lot out of his podcast. A few similarities in stories there. But I really liked your podcast with Ice as well. Like, I'm a big fan of Ice.
Eh?
But seriously, so good on you, man. Like that was pretty bold. That was a pretty bold move. So
yeah. Have you been a guest on a podcast before, or is this your first one?
It's my first one. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm stoked, hey?
Yeah. So to give the listeners a bit of context, you want to take me back to a young Kate. What was your upbringing like?
My upbringing, so I was born and bred in Wollongong, grew up in a small town just outside Wollongong CBD called Port Kembla. Born and bred on the beach, grew up playing pretty much every sport under the sun, did a lot of surfing and bodyboarding, did surf club, soccer, basketball, and of course martial arts. So yeah, it's pretty good.
How old were you when you started martial arts?
I was 4.
Oh, nice.
So, my parents have no idea where I wanted to, where I got this idea of wanting to do martial arts from. But they reckon from the time I could walk and talk, all I wanted to do was Taekwondo. And they kind of put it down to my love of the Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers. So, yeah, that's, I guess, where the story begins.
And so you started at age of 4 and you worked your way up. When did it start getting serious for you?
So at the age of 4, I actually began with judo. Yep. And that was because my parents weren't particularly keen on a 4-year-old walking around the house kicking and punching. That was a pretty out there idea for them. But my dad, he had a friend who was a black belt in judo at the time. And judo is more grappling, like throws, learning how to roll properly. So he's like, oh, why don't you get her to do this? She'll get the outfit. She'll learn how to fall properly, which came in handy later because I was such an active kid. And then there's also a competitive side to judo as well. So, start there and then, we'll see what happens. And so I did judo from the age of 4 to the age of 10. And I competed as a 5-year-old all the way up until I was 10 in judo. And I guess that's where I found my my love for competing. But then when I was in about year 5, we were starting to look for high schools, and the local sports high school offered Taekwondo. And my parents were like, all right, well, you're kind of old enough to know not to walk around kicking and punching people. Do you want to give Taekwondo a crack? And I was just like, hell yeah. So we signed up to Taekwondo, and I did a year of another style of Taekwondo that wasn't actually competitive, but I always wanted to compete. So yeah, a year later, I got, when we were looking at high schools, I had the opportunity to try out for the Taekwondo team to get into the local sports high school. And yeah, within a few months of changing over styles, I was enrolled in my first competition, and yeah, kind of just took off from there. But things didn't really get serious until I was in my late teens and heading into my 20s. So yeah.
I actually did Taekwondo for like 1 year.
Did ya?
Yeah, Bren Foster?
Yeah, I do
Yeah, I did it
actually.
at his gym at Minchinbury.
Oh wow, small world, man.
Yeah, I know. I think
That's crazy.
I was roughly maybe 10 around that age.
How
But
come you
yeah,
stopped though?
went into footy after
Oh, fair enough.
that. So when
I
was
had
your first serious competition?
my first serious competition. Good question. I went to nationals all through high school, but like I wasn't the most talented. I wasn't naturally the most talented, and I didn't have a great support system when I was younger, between my coach at the time um, and my home life. So like I went to nationals, and nationals was pretty good, but I never really did well there. Like I always ended up in the top three, but I never like won anything significant. Um, so probably didn't really get serious until my last year of high school, when I actually got picked to go on a development team to Korea and represent Australia on it wasn't a super high level event, but it was kind of like the beginning of getting serious. So I went to Korea and I won a bronze medal there. And then I came back from that and I was just like, yeah, like I definitely want to do this. Like I definitely want to hit this hard. So I finished high school, and then still took me another couple of years before I made my first benchmark competition, and that was the World Championship team in 2013. So I was a senior then. Had a few more years under my belt, competing overseas and nationally. And then, 2013 was kind of when things took off. So,
Talk to me about
yeah.
2013. What happened that year?
So in 2013, I made the World Championship team, and which is huge in Taekwondo. So the World Championships is considered one level under the Olympics. So if you make a Worlds team, it's pretty important. And yeah, I ended up going over to Mexico and won my first fight and then lost my second fight. But it was a massive learning experience, and came back even hungrier to do well and have a shot at the Olympics essentially. So
what's training and preparing like? Were you doing it like full time or?
Well, I was living in Wollongong at the time, and I was working and training in Sydney, and so it was about an hour and a half commute from Wollongong to Sydney daily, and I was training six times a week. So I'd get up in the morning, do a early morning session, might have been a sprint session or a weight session, and then I was in the car up to work, worked all day, and then I trained at Liverpool at the time. So I was doing that pretty much 6 days a week. So yeah, it was pretty full on, and I did that for quite a number of years as well. So
what were you doing for work at the time?
I was working for a company, like a fruit delivery company, and I just needed, like, straight out of high school, I never really knew what I wanted to do with myself. I didn't really have the guidance to be like, hey, like you should go to uni and study while you're, competing and kind of live a balanced lifestyle like that. I just knew that I wanted to do Taekwondo. I wanted to be really good at it. In order for me to travel, I needed money to do that. So I needed to find some sort of a full-time job. And because I knew what the training involved, I didn't necessarily want a job that was too stressful
Yeah.
or too, manual. So I ended up with this admin job, just an entry-level admin job. And I was pretty open with them from the get-go and just said, look, I've got some pretty big sporting goals that I want to achieve, but, I'd love to get some work experience. And I pretty much just laid it out on the table. And, they were really accommodating to my sporting needs, and I'm actually still working with that particular company now. And they've been amazing over the years, super flexible. I've had so much time off over the years traveling and trying to work around training and vice versa. They've just been super accommodating. So yeah,
that's awesome that they support you. Some companies wouldn't care.
No, that's right. And to be fair, that's like a big part of why I've stayed with them for so long, because whatever it might not be, the career of my dreams or anything, they've been a really great company that have supported me, and been super flexible when I've needed to be flexible, I'm super lucky. So that's been a massive help over the years.
Especially, you have to pay your own way, even if you're representing Australia, don't you?
Yeah. Taekwondo's, there's like a little bit of funding, and there's a little bit more funding coming through now, but whatever I've been in the sport at this level, it's essentially been self-funded. So it's hard. Like it's been hard when you do all this work and you make national teams and stuff, and you still got to pay for like your right to wear the green and gold tracksuit,
especially when you're competing overseas as well.
Yeah, 100%. And then in Australia, there's a lot of like we don't have the access to get to high level competitions frequently like a lot of the other countries do. So there's a lot of traveling interstate, and then when you go overseas, you're going overseas for weeks at a time, sometimes months at a time, to try and make the most of the money you've spent to get over there. It's a hard slog, that's for sure.
And you got to eat healthy as well. You can't just live off 2-minute noodles.
No, you can't. And, I've competed as a heavyweight pretty much my entire Taekwondo career. And I've considering I've been on the lower end of the scale for heavyweight, I've actually had to put on weight to get into heavyweight. I've still had to keep a pretty good diet. It's not just burgers and 2-minute noodles or anything like that.
So what's it like actually representing your country and putting on that green and gold?
Oh, there's nothing like it. Hey, it's pretty special. From the time I threw a kick and started Taekwondo, I was just like, I'm going to get that green and gold uniform one day. That was my be all and end all. It kind of wasn't even the Olympics. It was more, I'm going to get that green and gold uniform one day. I don't care how long it takes me, but there was just something about the idea of representing your country that was just, can't put it into words when you actually get that.
You remember the first time you put it on?
Yeah, I do. I was pretty emotional, I remember just getting my green and gold tracksuit and my fighting uniform with AUS plastered on the back, and I was just looking at it oh my God, I've actually done it. Next level.
And then the next step, winning gold. How was that?
Oh, look. Commonwealth gold, that was a pretty special one. I actually won Oceania gold first, but Commonwealth gold in 2017, that was amazing. So a bit of a story to this, but basically in 2014 we had the Commonwealth Championships in Scotland, and that was a big deal for my family because our heritage is Scottish, and my grandma, who I was super, super close with, she was, proud Scottish heritage, and I was going back to the home country essentially, and it was a real big deal. And we went to the 2014 championships, and I won silver. Had an amazing day of fighting. Like in the quarterfinals, I had knocked out the home country Scotland, and that was a big deal in itself. And then I progressed through to the finals, and I narrowly lost to this Canadian girl. And anyway, like it was all emotional, and I was just so stoked that I'd won a Commonwealth medal in Scotland. And I brought it home, and I showed my grandma, and my grandma was like my biggest supporter, right? I'm the only granddaughter, so
spoiled.
Me and her were super close. I showed her the medal, and she was just like so happy for me, and she sat there and she's like, I'm just so proud that like you're following your dreams and you're doing what makes you happy. And then that was the last time I ever saw her. But I remember sitting there going, Grandma, don't worry, another 4 years time I'll be back. I'm going to get that gold medal for you, don't you worry. And she kind of just smiled and was like, I'm proud of you no matter what. But I didn't know that was going to be the last time I'd see her. And 2 weeks later, she passed away, and that kind of destroyed me. But coming back to 2017, we got to Canada, and I was just like, yep, I'm going to get this medal, like time to get the gold medal. But what happened was, when we were in Canada, we'd been training in the States a week beforehand, and with other members of the team. And during training, I clashed like shins with someone during sparring, and we got to Canada, and it was 2 days before Commonwealth champs, and I ended up in hospital with this massive lump on my shin that turned out to be an infection. And I was getting really, really sick in the lead up to these couple of days, and this big lump, which I thought was just like a clash, like just a bruise, or just a bump from training, was growing and turning pretty nasty on my shin. And I ended up in hospital 2 days before Com Champs, and really, really sick. And they couldn't tell me exactly what it was, but basically all signs were pointing to some sort of an infection or like a blood clot. So we had to rule out that it was like anything pretty deadly, because I was getting pretty sick from it. I was not in a good way. And then I was like, how am I going to go out there in 2 days' time and win this medal that, means so much to me. But anyway, 2 days of rest and some antibiotics, and I had this really gnarly, it turned out to be quite a nasty infection on my shin. And 2 days later, I ended up coming and pulling through the goods, and I won the gold medal. And yeah, that was pretty awesome.
What a comeback.
Oh, mate.
That would have been a great feeling after all that, and then getting that gold.
Oh, never a dull moment, I tell you, hey.
Did you ever have the opportunity to go to the next step, to the Olympics?
No. Look, I've got plenty of stories to tell. So in the lead up to 2016 games, so 2013, I kind of made my breakthrough going to Worlds, and then 2014, I was really starting to do well, and I was really making my mark on the international stage. Like, I was fighting girls that had been to the Olympics and medaled at the Olympics, and going toe to toe with those guys, and people that I also looked up to. And I was starting to win international medals. Like, we had the Com Champs, and I was the only senior to progress through to the final and win. So I was really starting to hit my stride. And then at the start of 2015, I did my ACL and meniscus, and that took me out for all of 2015, which meant that took out any shot at the Olympics for 2016. so I just fell short there, and but I ended up making the shadow team, which was pretty cool. So like the reserve team, and then I started to hit my stride again, coming back from the ACL in the last few years. But then, I decided to retire at the end of last year because I was a bit burnt out and a bit over the politics of the sport. And so I never quite got to the Olympics, but look, there's lots of other good stuff I did get to achieve. So yeah, I'm at peace with that.
Yeah, you should be very proud of yourself. At least that you got to represent your country and you won gold. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah. Look, I mean, to be honest, like if you had told the little 10-year-old Kate that she was going to do all the things that she's done, like, I mean, I would have been pretty stoked, but I'm not sure I would have fully believed her. So I certainly exceeded my own expectations and a lot of other people around me. So, yeah.
What's it like being out there on the mats, just you and your opponent?
Oh, there's nothing like it, hey. So Taekwondo is made up of 3 2-minute rounds. It's pretty full on. It's a pretty dynamic sport, and it's very much like a physical game of chess because it's points based. It's not just going out there and brawling. It's very tactical. But when you step onto the ring, for me, like everything just fades away. Pretty much, all I'm focused on is the opponent in front of me. I can only hear my coach, pretty much, and the referee, and it's like nothing else. Like
just
nothing
tunnel
in
vision.
the world. Yeah, tunnel vision, 100%. Like for that 6 minutes, 8 minutes if you include the breaks, like all your focus, your whole world revolves around scoring the next point and making sure like you outsmart your opponent. It's pretty surreal. Like it's pretty
like
cool.
You seem like a pretty nice girl. When you get on the mat, do you get like all aggressive in that?
Yeah, I'm a pretty aggressive fighter, eh? Like when it's game on, it's game on. You have to be
awesome.
like that. Like at the end of the day, you're both there to win. Someone's got to win. Someone's unfortunately going to lose. Like you've got to be like all in on it. So
you got those evil eyes going, eh?
Oh, mate, like it's tunnel vision, mate. Like I'm pumped. I'm so pumped. And like honestly, like without sounding nasty, like there is nothing like hitting a great headshot. Like when you put your foot to someone's head, it's pretty good. Like, and I say that in the nicest possible way as well. Hey,
how many knockouts you got?
Actually, I've only got 1 knockout. I've had a couple of TKOs, so just through body shots and punches. So in Olympic style Taekwondo, you can't punch to the face, but you can punch to the chest guard area. And I've had a few stoppages from just big punches. Yeah. So
how does the points work? Because your headshots are worth more, aren't they? Or
so pretty much you might have seen that in Taekwondo we wear like a chest guard and a head guard, and that's your scoring areas. You can't kick below the belt, and it's pretty much 2 points for a basic kick to the body, 3 points for a basic kick to the head guard or the face area, 4 points for a spinning kick to the body, and 5 points for a spinning kick to the face. And then punches are only to the body, and they're 1 point. So, and then on top of that, you have penalties. So if you get a warning, the other person gains a point.
Yep.
So, yeah.
What was your favorite move? Spinning back kick or something?
I used to, there's this move called like a back hook kick, and it's pretty much like a spinning kick to the face. Like, I used to love that, but for my division, it wasn't always very practical. So I did love that, and I have scored with it a few times in matches, but yeah, it's not really a high percentage scoring kick. So I'm big on punches, love my punches, and I always just like a nice back leg turning kick to the face. It's always pretty nice.
You said it was like chess. So what's training like? It's all tactical in that, or?
A little bit. So we do a lot of conditioning, so a lot of kicking conditioning, because like for 2 minutes, 2 minute rounds is almost like sprinting. Like you've got to be able to think, but then you've also got to be fast and reactive. So we do a lot of sprint training, a lot of kicking conditioning, a lot of just rounds of sparring. And then on top of that, you have your tactical training, which is a lot of scenario work. So yeah, like almost breaking down like a fight situation with different scenarios, different kicks that you've got to try and counter, or different kicks you might want to try and score with. So, and then on top of that, you have your strength and conditioning as well, which just, assists with, you staying in your weight division, and also just making you a better functioning athlete as well. So,
Yeah, so it's very tactical. Most people probably think you just go out there and try and kill the other person.
Yeah, it's so not just going out there and brawling. I mean, like, I wish it were that simple, but it's such a mental game as well, hey?
Is there some people that do that though, that you versed?
Yeah, there is, yeah. Like, normally if you're like a lower level belt, and a lot of the kids, they'll just go out there and just brawl. Like, I mean, because kids' competition starts from, I think it's like 5 or 6 years of age. So a lot of the lower level kids, and even the lower level adults, just go out there and brawl and punch on. But then when you get into like black belt level, and you're competing on a national and international level, it gets a bit more strategic. So, yeah.
What do you think? Is it harder versing someone that brawls or someone that's tactical, because you kind of know what they're trying to do?
Oh, that's a tough one. Like, yeah, sometimes the people that just want to brawl with you are the harder ones to fight, because they generally end up being a bit more unco.
Yeah.
And they're really hard to work out, and they've got elbows flying, and if you kick an elbow, that's not fun. And but then if you're fighting someone who's like, cream of the crop, top 10 in the world, like, yeah, I mean, they're challenging in a different sense, but I would probably rather fight the people who are like, really strategically good.
Yeah.
So,
and what belt are you?
I'm a 3rd Dan black belt.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what's
been it for a while.
What's the biggest lessons you've learned over your career?
There's been a lot of lessons. I've built up a lot of resilience over the years, just through coming into contact with different coaches, and like, it's a hard sport to be in, like, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. But I guess probably the biggest lesson I've learned has just been to keep going. Like, if this is what you really want to do, you just got to stay persistent, stay in the game. And, sometimes it's just a matter of simply rocking up and, staying in the game. Like, I've seen so many talented people drop off over the years before their prime, just because I guess it got a bit too hard emotionally for them. But for me, I never wanted to be that person who left the sport before my prime. Persistence.
Yeah. That's like any sport. You see so many athletes just drop off when it gets too hard.
Oh, 100%. And it's sad, because like you lose like that pool of talented athletes that makes your sport so great. Like, you lose that large pool essentially. And if there's like heaps of athletes that are really good at what they do, that's going to lift the standard of your sport in your country. So it's pretty sad when you see good people drop off the radar just because they're burnt out.
Yeah. So how do you go about finding good coaches?
Oh, look, that's a tough one. I was very, very lucky. My first coach that I grew up with and I spent over 10 years with, being in Wollongong, there wasn't a lot of options for me to pursue sport taekwondo if I didn't like the coach that I essentially had. A lot of the good coaches are based here in Sydney or in the other capital cities. So for me as a teenager, I didn't have a great coach. He really wasn't the nicest person, but I knew I had to stay there and stick it out until the right opportunity did come along. And when I was just finishing high school, I came across another coach who was also friends with my coach at the time, and she had a club of her own and was pretty fresh to the scene, but was a seasoned competitor in her day, and she started to bring her guys down to our club in Wollongong, and I just hit it off with her and her team, and I became really great friends with them. And she kind of started to take on a mentor role with me. We just became really good mates. And it got to a point with my current coach where he really wasn't treating me nice at all. And I was like in my late teens coming, into being an adult. And he did a few things in front of this other coach, Di, and she was just like, hang on a second, that's not right. And she turned around to me one day and she's like, you don't have to be treated like this. And I was just like, oh, okay, like kind of what do you mean? And she's like, the way he's treating you isn't nice at all. Like you don't deserve to be treated like this. So she took on a mentor role with me and kind of started to open my eyes up to what a good coach was. And we stayed in contact over the years, saw her and a team at comms for a few years later. And then I eventually landed a job here in Sydney. And to me, the tide was starting to change, and I knew that it was time to leave my coach in Wollongong, and I had a car, I had a job, and I was just like, all right, like if I'm really going to give this sport a good crack, I've got to make the decision to leave now. And she welcomed me with open arms into her club. And the rest is kind of history. So that's still the coach that I'm with to this day. But at that point in time, she hadn't taken anyone to a national team level yet. So she actually sent me away to another coach because she goes like, I don't want to ruin your chances at having this shot at national team level. And she goes, I'm just not sure whether I've got the experience yet to give that to you. So she actually sent me away for a couple of years to another coach here in Sydney, and I made national team with him. But again, he wasn't a particularly good coach. But I knew I had to stick it out at that club for a particular amount of time, and again, I just knew I had to bide my time, take what I could from the experience, and then when the time was right, I switched back to Di at Iron Tiger, and been with her ever since. So it's hard. It's hard. There's some great people in the sport, but there are some coaches in particular that will promise you the world and treat you like absolute rubbish.
Yeah, so, that's like in any sport. I've gone through the same with footy.
Yeah.
So besides being coached in the physical sport, have your coaches kind of given you any life lessons along the way?
Yeah, my coach Di, she was the first person who really taught me that there's the athlete and then there's the person personally. So and I guess this is why she's so good at coaching, because not all coaches take this approach. A lot of coaches, from my experience, take a blanket approach to coaching. But with Di, she was very much about educating me on making sure my personal well-being was in a good place, because that would then reflect to how I rocked up to training and then how I performed in the ring. So that has been a big eye-opener for me over the years, and that's now something I pass on to the kids and how I coach my kids moving forward. So.
Yeah, that's good. I reckon a good coach is someone who focuses on the person first, the sport second.
Yeah, it has to be that way. Like, too many coaches just think, oh yeah, this works for one person, this works for one division, so this is how I'm going to coach everyone. And they might know this, the sport itself quite well, but they don't all necessarily have the people skills. And I think it takes a special coach to be able to identify, each individual and what works for them, and how they're going to be able to link the personal life with the athletic life. So, yeah.
It makes such a difference though, having a coach that you get along with and is so personable compared to another coach who just all about the sport and doesn't care about you, the person.
Yeah. And they're just a horrible person.
Yeah.
Like my coach that I had growing up with, like, don't get me wrong, he did do a lot for me in a lot of ways. Like, he was for a very long time like the father figure that was kind of absent from my life, like growing up. And but at the end of the day, he wasn't a nice person. Like, he definitely didn't have my best interests at heart. Like, I was the only one on our sports team for many years rocking up, getting themselves to training when I didn't have much family support. Like, I was the only one rocking up, like putting in the hours day in, day out, and I still didn't get like even a well done. Like, I only ever got put down. Yeah. So, and then the next coach I had after that, it was the same deal. Like, I was just a number, I guess I'm grateful for that, because again, those experiences built up my resilience. But what a difference coming across to Di. Like, completely different. Like, I didn't lose a fight, I think, in Australia for almost 18 months, right up until I did my ACL. And that's a pretty short time to be with a coach and be kind of getting those results. But she brought out the best in me, so that was credit to her. So
when you're with those other coaches, did you ever have any thoughts of kind of giving up because you weren't enjoying it?
Yeah, 100% I did, especially as a kid. Like, as a kid in my teenage years, and I was never the most naturally talented athlete by any long shot, but I loved it more than anyone else. I had the passion for it more than anyone else. And even the people, my teammates at the time, they could all see it from a mile away. Like, they were making national teams. The parents could see it, and it was pretty disheartening as a 14-year-old coming home going, oh, like, I tried so hard, I put in so much effort, I don't even get a well done. Like, it was, I get nothing but criticism. So there were many times, especially as a teenager growing up, like, where I was just like, what am I doing? But then on the flip side to that, like, I loved it too much. Like, to me, Taekwondo was the one thing that I knew, like, I was certain about. There's nothing else in my life that I was ever certain about other than doing Taekwondo. So for a long time, there was a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
But just had to stick to it.
Where are some of the best places in the world Taekwondo's taken you?
Oh, I've been to some crazy places. Mexico, for one. Mexico was insane. I've been to, like, Scotland was beautiful. That was a big tick for me just because of my heritage and stuff. Um, we went to Israel in 2000 at the end of 2018. That was pretty hectic. I never thought in a million years I would go to Israel of all places. Um, where else? Got to go to Paris in France. That was pretty epic. That was like a bucket list
Yeah.
tick for me. Whew, Croatia, been to Fiji, New Zealand a couple of times, Korea. Korea was cool. That was my first overseas trip, so that was an experience I'll never forget. Been to the States quite a number of times. Yeah, trying to think. Been a few places.
Been everywhere, if I sounds of it.
Yeah, Israel was probably the craziest, I think.
Yeah, why is that?
It was pretty dangerous for one. Like, there was me, my coach Di, and my friend Carmen. Like, we're three Aussie girls, like, just traveling around. Like, because we did Croatia, France, and Israel in that trip. And like, yeah, Israel's not exactly the safest place.
Yeah.
And here we were, like, three Aussie girls, you know. Me and my coach have got short hair, so that kind of, like, for a quite conservative country, was a bit dodgy as well. And then when we were on that trip, me and Carmen had landed in Croatia, and we turned on the TV when we got there, and there was all over the news about missiles being fired into Israel.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and I'm getting messages from home going, "Oh, don't tell me you're going to Israel. Like, it's like not safe." And me and Carmen were like, "No, it's fine. Like, we're checking the government websites. Like, no, it's all good." We ended up going. It was just like a weird place. Like, yeah, like you could hear the missiles being shot at night, like over the border, into
that would have been
Palestine.
scary, eh?
Yeah, it was like bizarre, but like, so you fly into Tel Aviv, and Tel Aviv is actually like pretty modern and like pretty free and forward, but then you drive a couple of hours, well, not even a couple of hours, it's more like half an hour outside of Tel Aviv, and then it starts to get real old and conservative. And then we did a day in Jerusalem, and that was like ultra conservative. Yeah, it's just a weird dynamic, hey? Like, yeah, really crazy. Like, I would actually like to go back there and do a proper tour, but yeah, that was a hectic trip.
Yeah, it's awesome that competing in a sport's been able to take you kind of all over the world, really.
Yeah, I'm so lucky, eh? Like I said, if you had told 10-year-old Kate that she would have gone to all the countries that she's been to, like, I would have just been like, "Are you for real?" Like, yeah. So I'm like super blessed. Like, my travel experiences are definitely different to a lot of my friends.
Yeah. So, where are some of the other destinations on your bucket list?
Oh, I really, I've never been to Thailand. I would like to go to Thailand and do the whole touristy thing.
Yeah.
I want to go back to Korea and explore more of that because that was just like a cool place. I want to go to Japan. That's definitely on my bucket list. I always wanted to go to China, but now I'm not so sure about that.
I went to China. You go there, you won't go back.
Really?
Yeah. It's one of those places where you've been there, done that. It's all polluted, and it's like it's not much there, really.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I don't think I'll be in a rush to get there anytime soon, eh? Like,
nah. Or catch a disease or some shit over there. So you're retired now. What's life look like for you?
Good question. I'm still working on that, hey? Look, yeah, I'm heavily involved in coaching. I love coaching the next generation of athletes coming through. Like, that's, to me, even better now than competing. Like, I've done my time on the mats, and I still love sparring and training and stuff, but I get such a thrill now out of coaching the next generation of kids.
Now it's time to
through.
give back.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and that was always important for me. Like, I never wanted to finish my athletic career and be like, that's it. Like, always wanted to give back. So that's pretty special. So I'm focusing on that a lot. In saying that, I have quite the competitive spirit. So I did take up weightlifting at the end of last year. I kind of one day was just like, nah, I'm done. Like, I've had a good run. The last international trip I went on was pretty awesome. So I'll just finish on a good note there. And then my coach Di was like, well, you've got to compete in something. Like, it's just not in your nature to stop there and just train for the sake of training. And she was actually the one who suggested Olympic weightlifting. She's like, why don't you give that a crack? Like, you like lifting weights, so why not do it in a competitive sense? So started to get involved in that at the end of last year and started to, make some progression. And then the plan was to start competing in that this year, but then the virus hit.
Yeah.
So it's kind of put things on standstill for now.
What kind of weights you lifting?
No, I couldn't even tell you now. I was just like, nothing too crazy. I think at the end of last year when I was starting to like kind of hit my stride, I think I was snatching maybe 40 kilos, which doesn't sound like much, but I don't know if you like an Olympic snatch is quite technical. Clean and jerks. Oh, can't even remember. I was probably starting to hit like around the 50 mark, 55 mark.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's all right.
Like for someone who just started, like.
Yeah. Like, I had some pretty big goals I wanted to hit, but then, like once the gym shut, that really like just threw me off, and I'm only just starting to get back into it in the last couple of weeks. So, and now dabbling in a bit of CrossFit. So, just to get back into it. So
yeah, that was like me when the gyms closed. I just went downhill. Didn't train for like 2 months.
Oh, mate, I was the same. Hey, and like to go from training every day and being so set in routine and like thriving off that routine to just like, oh no, that's it. Like, I mean, I could go kick the bag at the gym and, I could go for a walk and stuff, which I did do, but it's not the same as someone giving you a program and going, yep, these are the goals we've got to hit. So
yeah, I felt yuck not training.
Yeah. I struggled something chronic, hey? Like, I need routine. I need something to be working towards.
Yeah, that's why I'm getting back into it, waking up early, going to the gym. I need that routine. If not, I just won't do anything.
Yeah, look, I'm totally the same, Like, so, I've tried to get up and, I try and walk most mornings because I do enjoy walking and I love being up early. And, getting back to the gym now. But, definitely a creature of habit and routine, hey?
Yeah, walking's the best. It's my favourite time of day in the morning. Fresh air,
me too.
Clear mind. It's awesome.
Yeah, no one's around either.
Yeah, I know. What time do you usually go?
I normally, when I'm not working, I'm normally up around 5.
Yeah.
And out the door by probably about 5:15.
Yeah, that's a great time to go.
Yeah, still dark. You get to catch the sunrise, so pretty good.
So what's the difference between winning as an athlete and then someone you've coached, like win their tournament?
Oh, yeah, another good question, hey. Let me think about this one. When it's you, like, it is different because, like, you're the one who's physically out there and, like, you physically have put in the hard yards, like, you've had to get up and, like, you've been, I don't know, it's just different. Like, you just physically, it's almost like a relief, like when you won, when you finally gotten over that line, especially after a hard training block. And things haven't gone so great. Like in that training block, it's definitely like a relief. But when you coach someone, especially if they've been unsure of themselves, but you've sat in that chair and you've like helped them throughout the match, but you've also helped them in the lead up, and you've helped program, their preparation, and then you've worked with them day in and day out, and then especially with the kids, like they get to nationals, and they fight through 3 or 4 fights, and they're only like a 10-year-old girl, and they're absolutely exhausted, and you've helped them get over that line and directed them in how to win, and they pull it off. Like, it's a different kind of relief. Like, it probably feels even more special because you've like put so much belief in them and helped them to believe in themselves, to get over that line. That, in some ways it's a bit more rewarding. I would say. Yeah, it's pretty special.
How many nights a week are you coaching?
At the moment, I'm coaching 3 nights a week. Yeah. Normally coached, Thursday, Friday, and then I also coach on Saturdays.
Yeah.
So,
COVID would have had a massive impact on that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it did. Like pretty much the week that the gym shut down, because we fall under gyms as well.
Yeah.
So we had only 1 week off, and kind of got all our planning and like backup plan into play. And then we pretty much went online straight away. And there was myself and 4 other coaches, and we would go in every night and share the load between the Zoom classes online. And it was all right. We did all right. Like, it was still good to engage with the kids and even the adults and stuff, and still give them something to look forward to. But it definitely wasn't the same as having that face-to-face contact. So
it's good that you went online though. Some gyms wouldn't have cared or didn't know how to do it. You took.
There were definitely a lot of people that struggled with that transition, but I think we did a pretty good job of to go within the space of a week and have it cranking straight away. I think we did a really good job. So, and I think that definitely helped a lot of the kids pull through the whole isolation thing as well. So
it's good for the gym, but most of all the kids, like, what would they do without it, kind of thing?
Yeah, well, it still gave them something to look forward to, and a lot of the parents we spoke to were trying to keep as much normal routine as possible. So by them having Taekwondo classes to look forward to online, definitely helped. And we always made sure we allocated like 10, 15 minutes at the end or after class to just hang around and chat and still keep up that engagement with them. So that was pretty good.
So what's your favorite part about coaching?
I love being able to help kids, especially believe in themselves. I love helping them achieve things that they never thought they would be able to achieve. It's pretty special when you get kids that come to you and they start out with not much self-confidence, and then after working with them for a while, you get them to state champion or national champion, and you can see them progressing through the ranks, and that's pretty special.
It's great instilling self-belief. Like, so many kids don't have it.
Yeah, that's it. And a lot of the time you don't know what goes on in these kids' personal lives. Sometimes whether you realize it or not, you could be that one person that, like they look forward to seeing every week, or, they feel like they can trust, or, you just don't know what goes on behind closed doors with a lot of people. So, it's quite it's quite an important job, and I take a lot of pride in what I do, and yeah, it's not something I take lightly, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
I seen you were a ambassador for the Pink Belt Project. You want to touch on that a bit?
Yeah, so the Pink Belt Project is an awesome initiative that a lovely friend of mine by the name of Christy Hitchens, she started to give, in order to give back to women who had come from tough backgrounds. And yeah, the Pink Belt Project pretty much gives out scholarships to women in need, and helps those women kind of find themselves through practicing martial arts and giving them the opportunity to take up martial arts, and kind of help them through whatever it is they've been through. So that's pretty special. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a great initiative.
Yeah, it's very cool, and I'm like so proud to be an ambassador for that, because yeah, I just know what martial arts has done for myself, and a lot of other people. So yeah, I'm really, really passionate about it, and yeah, like getting more women involved in martial arts, regardless of their background, where they're from, what their life experience is.
Yeah, it's a great sport. You can start anywhere and work your way up.
100%. And like, you don't have to be an Olympic athlete. Like yeah, like anyone can do it. Like with martial arts, most martial arts have belt systems, and that teaches you about short-term goals, mid-term goals and long-term goals. Obviously, like in a belt system, black belt is the long-term goal, but then you have your different colors and your different tips that you progress through, and yeah, like there's there's so many benefits. It's like a physical form of meditation in some ways. So yeah.
So besides Taekwondo, what do you do? What other hobbies do you have?
When I can, I love getting back to the ocean and bodyboarding and surfing. Not too good at it these days, but I do love it still. I love just being around the ocean in general. Like I'm into the whole weightlifting thing, and now CrossFit as well. Just keeping fit and active, and yeah, I'm very big on audiobooks as well these days, and listening to podcasts, obviously. So that's kind of what I do in my downtime.
Yeah, I just recently got into running.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, I want to hopefully compete in a marathon next year, which would be awesome.
That's epic. That's so cool.
Yeah, I realized like it's so good for the mental clarity. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm like that with swimming actually. I actually used to do like incorporate a lot of lap swimming in my training, but it was because like I could just tune out and just be in the water and just like, just focus on that pretty much.
I'm a rubbish swimmer. I'll drown.
Not much of a swimmer?
Nah. I'll stick to land.
Oh, it's because you're from the West.
Yeah, true.
See, I'm born and bred on the ocean. Like,
yeah.
It's kind of in me, I think.
So what do you do for personal development? Do you do much of that?
Yeah, I do. And definitely like I've gotten more into it like over the last few years. Like I said, I'm big on audiobooks, very big on podcasts, and just listening to different people's experiences, which I think is why I like podcasts so much. I would say like still training and doing things that are a bit outside of my comfort zone are definitely elements of self-development that like I'm still big on. Like I never thought in a million years I would step into a sport like weightlifting, so that was like a big deal for me. I like to try and haven't been to any major seminars yet, but I would like to in the future get to the Tony Robbins like week-long event.
I was going to go to that this year, but it got cancelled.
Yeah, that's definitely on my bucket list. So I do want to do more events like that moving forward. So, yeah.
Do you
But
do much reading or nah?
Not. I used to read a lot of autobiographies, but I just find audiobooks are a lot easier for me now because I do still spend a fair bit of time in the car. So I can pump out probably like at least one audio book a week, like when I'm in the zone to do that. So so I try and do that.
What are the top podcasts you listen to? Besides mine.
Besides yours. At the moment, I'm listening to The Mentor, Mark Bouris, from, what was that TV show? The Apprentice, the Australian version. Yeah, I'm listening to a lot of his podcasts at the moment. Obviously, the ICE Project.
Yeah.
How could you go wrong? Big fan of him. I was listening to a lot of Gary Vee for a while there, but yeah, I've kind of backed off from him at the moment. There's a couple of different health-focused podcasts. Like there's one called it's called The Healthy Hustlers, and they're two girls based out of Melbourne that I've recently got into. What else? That's probably it at the moment. Kind of chop and change. Just depending on what's out there. Brad Drybra from Wollongong, I listened to him a bit as well. He interviewed some interesting people. So,
have you heard of a guy called Kerwin Ray?
I have actually, yeah.
Get onto him. He has some awesome podcasts.
Okay, all right. I love it. I love finding new people to listen to. So
yeah, he interviews some pretty cool people.
Yeah, and he's been at some of those big personal development events as well. Hey.
Yeah, I've done them. Yeah.
Yeah, how'd you find them?
Yeah, it was good. It was meant to be in person, but because Corona, so it went online. I enjoyed it, but next year I'll be going to the in-person one, which will be way better because I'm more of a visual learner. I don't really learn online.
Yeah, I'm probably the same, to be honest. I would rather be face-to-face with people. I just feel like I take more in, being face-to-face and, the whole atmosphere and stuff as well.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
So on a more serious note, what's been your biggest struggle in life thus far and how did you overcome it?
I've had a few of those. I've had some pretty big injuries over the last few years. They were pretty gnarly. Like I did my ACL. I did my ACL and meniscus at once. That was pretty painful. And then I broke my middle finger in 3 places while I was overseas at the Belgium Open a couple of years back. That was pretty nasty. Had to come back and have surgery on my finger.
You've seen a picture on Instagram of you in the cast.
Yes, yeah. It was my middle finger, so I've actually got a nice scar from there to there, and that part of my finger was broken in 3 places.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty. That was the injuries were not great, but I knew there was I was going to come out the other side of them. So it was just as frustrating as it was. It was I just had to grin and bear it and make the most of the situation. So I kind of did that. But I guess probably more personally, in the lead up to me making Worlds in 2013, I actually had a week to the day before I was due to fly out to Mexico. I actually had a pretty close family member try and self-harm, and it was a pretty traumatic event. It was pretty serious. So I was the only family member around at the time to kind of deal with that. And then on top of that, I knew that I was going to fly out to Mexico in a week's time for, something I'd been working my whole life for. So that was pretty rough. I had to kind of deal with that. and make sure that person was okay, and also find peace with the fact that, you know, like, am I or aren't I going to go to Mexico? And, you know, what were the repercussions going to be if I did or didn't go? But yeah, that was pretty rough, emotionally. Yeah, but I did make the decision to go, obviously, in the end. But yeah, there was like a lot of soul searching I had to do in that week to make sure this person was okay. But then also be at peace with the fact that, you know, if I did go and something did happen, like, how would I feel about that? And yeah, that was pretty full on.
Did it have an effect on your tournament?
No, I don't think it did. Actually, I think I progressed a lot better than what I thought I would, and to be honest, what anyone else on the team thought I would, because I was super fresh at that time. Like, me making the World Championship team in 2013, that was my first big competition I'd been to. Like, and I was a senior, and you know, senior fighting is a lot different to junior fighting. But I definitely progressed a lot further than what I thought I would. It was more the fact that I confided in one of the coaches before I left and told them the situation, who was also my club coach at the time. And when I got over there, they didn't even ask me, like, if I was okay, and they knew the whole situation. So that was pretty rough. But in saying that, I think I was there to do a job. I did the best job that I could under the circumstances, and yeah, I exceeded my own expectations. So yeah, it was tough, but
yeah,
I mean, I was proud of the outcome. So
yeah. What's your why?
My why? My why is I want to be the best version of myself, and I never want to walk away with questions going, oh, what if, or, you know, having regrets. Like, I think that's I guess that's why I do what I do. And, you know, I just try to be the best version of myself. And, you know, if there's something that I want to go for, I'll give it a good crack. And, you know, at least then I'll never be left wondering, like, what if? So, I want to be the best version of myself for myself, but also for those around me. And yeah, I also want to, like, just have no regrets at the end of the day either.
Yeah,
So,
regrets is the big one. Gary Vee says it all the time.
Yeah, I just and you know, like, for me, pursuing Taekwondo, like, you know, it was never like, you had to pay your own way. Like, there's no big grand, you know, like, incentive for it. Like, you've got, like, you know, a lot of people my age are, you know, they're in good, like, jobs that, you know, pay well. They're, you know, they're working towards the house and all that. They've got families already and stuff like that. And I had to put a lot of my personal life on hold to chase this big, you know, kind of pipe dream, essentially. But you know, I'm glad I did it, because I've got experiences that, you know, no one else has around me.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, like,
plus you're still young. You got plenty of time for all the rest of that stuff.
100%. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've questioned at times, like, oh, you know, like, was it worth it? Like, but then I'm like, it doesn't take me long to realize, like, hell yeah, it was, because I've got all these amazing experiences. I've done these amazing things that the majority of the people that I know would never ever be able to achieve, or, you know, they'll never have those same experiences as what I did. Like I said, my traveling experiences are very different to a lot of my friends. So, you know, it's been different, but I can't regret that. Like, I've done what I've loved, and, you know, I'm still doing what I love, just in a different way now. And yeah, like how good's that?
As long as you're happy, that's all that matters, eh?
Yeah, look, I guess for me, that's my definition of success. Like, if you're doing what makes you happy and what you're passionate about, then, as far as I'm concerned, that is success. Like, you're the luckiest person in the world if you get to wake up and, do what you want to do, like, and you're loving it. You're excited to get up every morning.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you already answered one of my next questions then.
oh, there you go.
You're on the roll here.
Oh, mate, on fire.
So do you have someone who you look up to or who inspires you?
Oh, yeah, I've had a few people over the years that I've looked up to and been inspired by. My grandma. My grandma was like, yeah, she's my hero. She was such a special lady, and she was like probably the first person, and for a lot of years, the only person that really kind of believed in me and really believed that I should follow my heart and follow my dreams, and really encouraged me to do that. So I'm definitely still inspired by her. And then I'm definitely inspired by the kids that I work with every day. Like, I love the kids that I work with, and I love that, I have the ability to have an impact on kids, not just at my local Taekwondo club, but even across the country. That inspires me massively. That's why I want to be the best version of myself, because, I want to set that example for those kids and, show them that they can achieve whatever they want to achieve, and they can, pursue whatever it is that they're passionate about. So, probably.
Where do you see yourself for the next few years? Do you have any big goals?
Career-wise, I'm still finding myself a little bit. I've always worked to fund my way for Taekwondo. But I love coaching. I would love to eventually become a teacher. I think that'll take me quite some time to get through, because I've never been quite big on study. I've actually always found that quite intimidating. But I started to do some teachers' aid work at the beginning of the year, and kind of just fell in love with that whole idea, and the impact of, potentially being a teacher, and it's because it's quite similar to coaching as well. So I would like to start my teaching degree hopefully next year, and then if I could do something that brings fitness with teaching, then I don't know, something like that. I'd like to get involved with something not too different to what I'm currently doing with coaching, but maybe in a different way as well. And then I've recently started a page called the Combat Girls, and I really want to get my own podcast kicked off the ground by the end of the year. So that's a bit of a passion project of mine, where I get to share the stories of, girls from all different walks of life, different ages, getting involved in martial arts. So,
That's awesome. Well, if you need any help setting up the podcast, I'm happy to help you.
Yeah, thank you so much. You definitely are, got it going on. So I'd love to learn from you. That'd be awesome.
So last question, when your time's up on this earth, what would you like to be remembered for?
Oh, you've got some good questions, man. I thought I'd be a little bit more prepared. What do I want to be remembered for? Probably my heart and my passion. I want to be remembered as someone that loved what they did and was able to pass on their passion. That's probably it in a nutshell.
Yeah, sweet and simple.
Yeah.
So for our listeners that want to find out more about yourself, where can they follow you on social media?
Probably the easiest to find me is on Instagram, and it's just Kate Mcadam _. And
Yep.
then you'll kind of find out everything else from there.
Sweet. Well, thank you for coming on and giving me your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. Like, seriously, man, like, I'm stoked to be on your podcast, and I'm super honored to be your first female guest. So thank you so much for having me.
That's all right. It was awesome. Good, great chat.
Yeah, 100%. Hopefully we can do it again sometime.
For sure. And all the listeners out there, if you like this episode, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And follow Kate as well. She's awesome.
Thanks so much, Nick. I really appreciate it.
Have a good one.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.